Hello, this is Gerald Hilvas. While most of my videos are quite improvisations about what the letter meanings are, and also give you an idea how the combinations show you how much actually words contain letter combinations that are meaningful. It might not always be as easy to follow this, and might at the end, okay, once you don't follow it, you want to try it another time. So I'm going to give another approach this time and just have a quote from my book. Actually, it's from the second part of the application of the word, to give you an example that I'm not always improvising. This book is much more a study, and the second volume is about a study on meaningfulness of letters during history, during while using studies from previous times. This is the second volume about. Second volume, which you see here, is of course a reference to a lot of old scripts, and also old studies as well, of the order of letters and of the order of things actually as well. They always hang together. That's what also the Genesis, a part of the what is known to everyone, is also about. It is about words. Words hang together, the system hangs together, the thinking hangs together. We often use also astrological association with it to give an order. There's an order in the day, there's an order in the light. In the night you can have the comparison to these orders, and that's how we thought about things. We had a clock in the sky during the day. We had another kinds of clock in the night. You could see really like what kind of patterns they are that fit also to how the seasons change, how we behave, and so on. It's all quite followed by a regularity, a repetition of patterns, and so on. And that's all based upon all these things, which became actually much more associated with a belief system, a religion, that people now are so much detached from these origins that they think, okay, it's just all fantasy, because simply we also changed it almost into a fantasy and translated it to everything what we actually do not know, and at some point even accept it as it is associated as easily as we can have it. Of course, much more profound in the reality. And I'm going to give one example of the things that are profound, and they also repeat themselves during history, because they are based upon the patterns, like the patterns in the sky, and within a certain rhythm, and about things that people expect, and so on. One example, and it is also known in Christian circles, the three kings that are following the star and bring three gifts can also be recognized even in ancient Egyptian order of letters, and the order of letters has references also to the order of things. And I have in my book an example of the three gifts of what they mean. This time I'm talking about a serious study, and I'll give you that example and give away that example. It was quite accidental that someone asked me about it, and I thought, okay, maybe I'm going to read it just once, a small part of this book. And the first part actually is going to talk about the letters, from MN to NM, or actually also the man who is looking for his destiny and wants to control his destiny is also related with it. All these letters from the script in the Egyptian system of order can be given also an order with numbers, and I have written down the right numbering of the letters and the right associations of these letters about the size, about certain sizes, and certain sizes are associated with certain rhythms, with certain patterns of rhythms as well. And this one is one of the later ones, the number 19 I have here. So for instance here, that phase of number 19 is called mantev or just, which I'm not going to pronounce correctly because I don't understand all ancient Egyptian, but I associate them always immediately to the most closest English words that come to mind that also fit to these situations. Cowlins believed the latter word must be read as juosta, which come pretty close to adjusting, or adjust. Not just coincidentally, of course. The name refers to the 3 stars of the Orion's belt. In ancient times, these 3 stars were used to determine, with relative speed, what the best time was to start sowing or harvesting. Beside the 1 star direction that points towards an event known in the narrative of Jesus, also the 3 kings are signs of the stars, which we are present to stimulate further directions. In that sense, what is at play here is the whole act of selecting the right time, one's timing, for a well-prepared action. And that is why the hieroglyph draws attention to the skit, if I pronounce that well, for harvesting, which selects the right time in the flow of attention for the best outcome. In other words, which is why we have the outcome in the behavior of the snake on the ground, as well as the selected timing with the least internal resistance. And then we come to the letter combination of MN, or of man as well. After the meeting with the 3 kings, and as of the time of these 3 kings, the following 3 signs can just as well be offerings that can be brought as the offerings of a person that wishes to or must submit to what is labeled as valuable. A person initially has no influence whatsoever upon the additional aspects in their submission, and despite this they can turn these matters to their advantage. These phases firstly represent the provisional and likewise random as an aspect that now represents what is presently considered valuable in a favorable form, and it can be converted into gold, and this providence can bridge such. So first the provisional aspect, which is not under control of man, of course, so we have to bring it to our benefit, so we have to receive it actually as a gift, and then as well, if we have this in a beneficial way, it could help us actually to establish a life of man. We are not on, it's inevitable that we have them, so it's best that they are also that we have a little bit of aid for these things. Secondly, one has also the unforeseen circumstance, where the myrrh can be now be a benefit, where myrrh is used for the healing properties and for the same time to embalm the dead, thus representing a recovery from the condition of illness and death. And finally, what demands attention, and the ununderstandable, ungraspable, mysterious aspect that can be coupled with incense. These are matters that, on the face of it, cannot be controlled or be kept under control in a conscious manner, but when properly monitored, they can provide a beneficial result. One could suspect that humanity has always wanted to manipulate these phases through magic rituals and offerings, but the actual underlying aspect rather assumes a modest role for those matters that one cannot continuously control, and one can learn to accept them as a gift, to use every opportunity, every unforeseen, every ununderstandable aspect simply for what it is, with the associated attributes, so that it can be further integrated more easily. From another perspective, one could say that even a person who has discovered a spiritual path and wished to follow it must take into account the aspects that, from his intention alone, cannot be anticipated, no matter how great the intention to thereby encompass everything. In our earthly lives, one must be able to accept coincidence, which, thanks to the tools such as money, can still offer a helping hand and allow one to build something up with increased confidence. One must be able to heal something when unforeseen circumstances arise. And where one does not know what is unclear, one must be able to keep that behind the smokescreen so that whatever is not understood can still be pushed in the right direction through the intention that the game itself continues unabated. These three aspects are like the three bridges and not goals in themselves that do not belong to the spiritual world but to the worldly realm, and in reality only nourish the interpretation of that final aspect of importance. And then this aspect will continue to from MN to NM, but I'm not going to talk about that. They also build up a logic of what do you need actually. So how do we go and approach the world, and how do we approach these things? These aspects are explained also by all these phases and different rhythms. And this is also one of these rhythms. So even if we have everything along with us and have like, okay, we have a spiritual path, we also have to deal with this worldly path. And these gifts are actually like you can have something behind you. You could have a support behind you that can overcome the things that you can really not control at all. That's more or less what these aspects are about. It's just a touch of these aspects, but that's also what my book is about. It also explains the letters, it explains these rhythms, and it also builds it up like that. But I wanted to give away this small part from this book just for you to enjoy. Anyhow, that was a part from the application of the word of the Sound Informed Volume 2, which is only about what happened before, what kind of associations are there, did we have before, what kind of rhythms and an organization was done with the letters and the letter combinations before. A lot of times how languages are built up, they are built around certain words. We forgot so much about them that we associate certain combinations of words which are associated with things that are important with after a certain while, oh, this is a god. Also, no, just like I explained, her or a principle, it is a principle that has a certain rhythm that you can try to figure out and try to have a good approach to it, so that you can also benefit from that different rhythm that is higher than that one of yourself. That's the beneficial thing about it. And after a while, these representations of the higher orders or bigger orders that had names before were gradually degraded actually into belief forms as soon as we forgot what they are all about. But study them, study where they come from. So, and you can study them in languages as well. So for where does these words come from, and look at the context where these words come from and how they are associated them. And even the letters will make that puzzle more clear. And I hope this was also enjoyable. Thanks again for watching. Bye.